Welcome to today's story, one that could change the way you see your own life. This is not just a tale, but a journey from struggle to success, from having nothing to building everything. So stay with me, because what you hear today might just be the spark you've been waiting for. Part 1. Adil's breath formed small clouds in the icy air as he stepped off the bus at Port Authority. The city roared around him, horns blaring, strangers rushing past, neon signs flashing. He carried a worn-out backpack, the straps fraying, and inside it lay the sum total of his belongings. 2 shirts, a pair of jeans, a toothbrush, and a second-hand notebook filled with scribbled dreams. He had no job, no home of his own, no close friends in this city, and yet there was a strange comfort in the chaos, because this cold, unfamiliar place was the first step toward the life he'd been chasing in his mind for years. That first night, he slept on the floor of a friend's apartment. The paint on the walls peeled like old stickers. The carpet smelled faintly of dampness, and every time the upstairs neighbor moved, the ceiling creaked. Dinner was half a bag of chips. Adil stared at the ceiling in the darkness, telling himself over and over, "This is temporary. This is not forever." The days were long. Adil walked for hours, scanning storefront windows for help-wanted signs. His sneakers had holes and his toes ached in the cold. A few employers listened to his accent and politely told him they'd call him back. They never did. But one evening, his persistence paid off. A small grocery store offered him part-time work delivering goods to customers. The pay was barely enough to survive, but Adil took it without hesitation. Every delivery meant a few dollars in his pocket, and more importantly, another day he could stay in the city. At night, exhaustion pulled at his body, but Adil forced himself to sit in front of a battered laptop he had bought for $80 from a pawn shop. The screen flickered, and the keyboard was missing the letter N, but it worked. He stumbled upon a video about digital marketing, a world where small businesses use social media ads to reach customers. The idea fascinated him. The thought that you could use the internet to influence people's choices seemed like magic. Over the following weeks, Adil devoured every free resource he could find. YouTube tutorials, free ebooks, and marketing blogs. His English improved without him noticing. Every night, he read articles, rewrote ad copy for imaginary clients, and experimented with graphics. Then opportunity knocked in the unlikeliest way. One rainy evening, Adil delivered groceries to a struggling pizza shop. The owner, a tired-looking man in his 50s, complained about slow sales. Adil hesitated, then offered, "Let me try running some Facebook ads for you. No charge. Just give me a week." The owner raised an eyebrow. "You know how to do that?" Adil smiled. "I'm learning. Let me show you what I can do." For the next 7 days, he poured his energy into creating ads that highlighted the shop's best pizzas, offering discounts for first-time customers. He posted mouth-watering pictures on the shop's page and targeted locals within a 5-mile radius. By the 3rd week, sales had risen by 25%. The owner was stunned. "Kid, I don't know what you did, but it worked," he said, handing Adil $200. It wasn't much, but it was the first real money Adil had earned from his new skill. That $200 felt like $1 million, not because of the amount, but because of what it represented. Proof that he could create value, that his knowledge could help others, and that maybe, just maybe, he could build something bigger. Part 2. With the small success from the pizza shop fueling his confidence, Adil began to dream bigger. He started offering his services to other small businesses, cafes, laundromats, thrift stores, anyone who would listen. Most people turned him down. A few agreed to try him out, often paying him less than the cost of a meal. But Adil didn't care. He was building a portfolio. He kept screenshots of every ad campaign, every sales report, every piece of positive feedback. At night, he would review his work, figuring out what worked and what didn't. He wasn't just learning digital marketing, he was learning resilience, patience, and the art of hearing no without giving up. Months passed. His living situation improved slightly. He moved from sleeping on a friend's floor to renting a tiny room with barely enough space for a single bed and a desk. But to Adil, that desk was gold. It was where he mapped out his vision to start his own agency. One afternoon while working at a cafe, A sharply dressed man noticed Adil's laptop screen filled with ad performance charts. "Are you in marketing?" the man asked. "Yes," Adil replied, straightening up. The man introduced himself as David, the owner of a small clothing brand. Sales were steady but not growing, and he wanted to expand online. Adil pitched his services with quiet confidence, explaining his strategies for social media targeting, seasonal promotions, and brand storytelling. David leaned back, impressed. "All right," he said, "show me what you can do." For the next month, Adil worked tirelessly on David's campaign. He crafted ads that told the brand story, how each piece of clothing was made, the inspiration behind the designs, and the values the company stood for. The ads didn't just sell products, they connected with people. By the end of the campaign, online sales had doubled. David was thrilled, and word of Adil's work began to spread. Suddenly, people weren't asking him if he knew marketing. They were asking if he had time to take on their projects. It was the first time Adil had to say no to a client because his schedule was full. It felt surreal. Still, Adil didn't forget the nights of hunger, the long walks in the cold, the countless rejections. He used those memories as fuel. Every morning he reminded himself, "If I could survive then, I can handle anything now." One evening, while reviewing his monthly earnings, he realized something. The money he was making from his marketing work now exceeded what he earned from his delivery job. It was a turning point. The next morning, he walked into the grocery store, handed in his apron, and thanked the manager for giving him a chance when no one else would. The manager smiled. "I knew you'd move on to bigger things." Walking out of the store, Adil felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. For the first time in his life, he was relying solely on his own skills to survive. No safety net, no backup plan, just him, his laptop, and the belief that he could keep building. Part 3. Adil's days became a blur of client meetings, strategy calls, and late-night brainstorming sessions. He wasn't just creating ads anymore. He was helping business owners shape their brand identities. He taught them how to connect emotionally with their customers, not just push products. But success brought new challenges. With more clients came tighter deadlines, higher expectations, and the constant fear of making a costly mistake. There were moments when campaigns underperformed and he had to face frustrated clients. Instead of crumbling under the pressure, Adil learned to own his mistakes, adjust strategies quickly, and turn failures into lessons. His reputation continued to grow. One evening, he received an email from a mid-sized restaurant chain looking to hire a digital marketing consultant. It was the biggest opportunity of his career so far. The meeting was set in a sleek downtown office with glass walls and modern furniture. Adil wore his best shirt, still slightly wrinkled from lack of ironing, and carried a small folder with his portfolio. The CEO, a sharp-eyed woman named Karen, looked over his work. "Your results are impressive," she said, "but we've worked with big agencies before. Why should we pick you?" Adil took a deep breath. "Because I know what it's like to start with nothing. I understand the value of every dollar a small business spends. I won't waste your money on guesswork. I'll make every ad count." Karen smiled slightly. "You have a deal." The campaign for the restaurant chain was intense. Adil designed ads highlighting their signature dishes, collaborated with food photographers, and tested different promotions. Within 2 months, the chain saw a 40% increase in online orders. The CEO personally called to thank him, and the company signed a long-term contract. This deal changed everything. Adil could finally hire an assistant to help with scheduling and minor tasks. His workload became more manageable, allowing him to focus on bigger strategies and creative ideas. But Adil didn't stop there. He started attending local business networking events, handing out simple business cards with his name, email, and a tagline, "Marketing that works." At first, he felt awkward in introducing himself to strangers, but over time, he became confident, sharing his story with pride. People weren't just hiring him for his skills, they were inspired by his journey. They saw someone who came from nothing and built something real through determination and learning. One night, as he looked out of his small apartment window at the city skyline, Adil realized something profound. His life had completely changed, but it wasn't luck that brought him here. It was persistence, adaptability, and the refusal to quit when things got hard. Part 4. With his business thriving, Adil began thinking beyond survival. He wanted to create something lasting. He envisioned a small agency that could help not just local businesses, but clients across the United States. He rented a modest office space, just 2 rooms, one for him and one for his assistant. The walls were bare at first, but Adil saw them as blank canvases for his future. He bought a second-hand desk, a whiteboard for ideas, and a coffee maker for the long workdays ahead. To expand his reach, Adil started posting free marketing tips on social media. He recorded short videos about effective ad strategies, common mistakes businesses make, and how to connect with customers. His tone was friendly, authentic, and practical. The response was overwhelming. People loved his no-nonsense advice and real-life examples. Within months, his social media following grew into the tens of thousands. He began receiving messages from entrepreneurs in different states asking for consultations. Adil realized he had tapped into something powerful. People wanted to learn from someone who had been where they were, not from a corporate consultant who had never faced real struggle. He launched an online course, sharing everything he had learned, from building ad campaigns to managing client relationships. The course sold better than he expected, giving him an additional source of income and freeing him to take on only the clients he truly wanted to work with. Adil also started giving talks at small business conferences. Standing on stage, he would tell his story, from sleeping on a floor to running his own agency, and watch as people in the audience nodded, smiled, and sometimes even wiped away tears. One day during a conference in Chicago, a young man approached him after his speech. "I was about to give up on my business," the man said, "but hearing your story, it made me believe I can turn things around." That moment made Adil realize his work was about more than marketing. It was about inspiring change. He wasn't just helping businesses grow, he was helping people believe in their own potential. Years later, looking back, Adil could hardly recognize the man who once struggled to afford a meal. The journey had been full of challenges, but each obstacle had shaped him into the person he was now. A self-made entrepreneur who not only built a life for himself, but also gave others the tools to do the same. And every time he saw someone take their first step toward change, he was reminded of his own first step, the day he decided that no matter how hard life got, he would keep moving forward.